We've heard Lorea explain the huge challenges facing our sector, challenges which involve action from all players in the market, each in their own context. At CIE, we've spent 25 years experiencing how the sector has been transforming constantly. And we've proved that we know not only how to adapt and survive, but that we're able to make the most of each moment and each opportunity and transform them into strategic success. And it's precisely this, our strategic decisions about electrification, digitalization, comfort and internationalization, that we're going to discuss now with Inigo and Rich. Decarbonization of society is both a need and an unstoppable trend. In the automotive industry, we know we're playing a key role in the process. And of course, at CIE Automotive, we've already started to make progress in this direction. So let me put this journey towards electrification at CIE in context, as it may not be very obvious how it affects us and what opportunities it's creating for us. It's well known that the CIE model focuses on diversification of technology, regions, markets and segments, always looking for the flexibility which has given us such good results since the beginning. You can see the results of this diversification in the fact that in 2020, 82% of sales were not linked to powertrain, and just 18% of CIE's sales depended on the type of propulsion for the vehicle. Let's look deeper into that 18%. On the one hand, 15% are powertrain components for internal combustion engines, and 3% of group sales are powertrain components for electric vehicles and their batteries. On the other hand, that 15% focusing on internal combustion engines includes projects in regions and segments which are very slowly increasing their level of electrification. So our real risk drops very significantly and would in any case be under 10% of sales. At any rate, and despite our low exposure to an electrification portfolio, we need to do an impact analysis. So we need to set an intermediate scenario up to 2030, with 30% of purely electric cars in Europe and China, and 50% in North America, 4% in Brazil, and 5% in India. To be more prudent, we've not taken into account hybrid vehicles or plug-in hybrids, although we all know that the results of CIE's impact analysis would clearly improve. By applying the percentages for electrification to our internal combustion powertrain portfolio, the percentage of sales at risk would be approximately 3% in 2025 and approximately 5% in 2030. Taking into account that CIE Automotive obtains orders each year for approximately 20% of total revenue, these percentages are very achievable for the sales efforts and endeavors to secure business which are constantly and naturally going on. Now we've seen that the impact of electrification on our portfolio is not significant by any means, let's now talk about the opportunities and challenges facing us and how we're going to tackle them. Let's understand how a typical medium-sized car from the CD segment with a combustion engine is affected by electrification. We'll start with the electronic and mechatronic elements. CIE Automotive is not involved in these, so let's move them from the equation. Our involvement in storage and management of fuel, exhaust, air supply to the engine and emissions control is negligible. As regards turbochargers, we only supply housings for the hot side and only do so in certain regions where there is no immediate likelihood of electrification. Our presence in the core area of gearboxes, without taking the houses into account, is very low, and we would have to consider that differentials will be necessary regardless of the vehicle's propulsion type. Although we're evolving towards electric vehicles, there are still heat management needs, and they are even rising. Let's focus now on the central structure of the engine, where, due to the search for flexible resources, we haven't positioned ourselves as regards engine blocks or cylinder heads, nor for elements such as valves, camshafts, piston pins and conrods. It's true that there's an important product, which is the crankshaft. If we now analyze the injection system, we see that we have the fuel rails and sometimes a pump housing. We also have to take into account that some components will be necessary in both propulsion scenarios. We're talking about the oil pumps, coolant pumps, the air conditioning compressors, and the support elements for all of these, as well as the engine itself. In this environment, we find ourselves with the natural portfolio of CIE Automotive, a range made up of medium-sized aluminium and mechanized parts linked to power transmission components and other small components, fuel rails, certain oil pans, which can be metal-stamped or cast aluminium, crankshafts, and cast iron turbo housings mainly. A portfolio based on flexible, generic manufacturing technologies. Lastly, it's clear that the roof division and practically the plastics division are unaffected by this transition. Now let's look at how to deal with an electrified powertrain. It's true that from a generic standpoint, it's made up of fewer parts, but that doesn't mean we stop having a great number of opportunities. In fact, we're already mass producing and we have secured new projects. In the power-based motor and power electronics area, we find medium-sized cast aluminium parts, casings and covers for motors, for the inverter, for the electronics, for the vehicle's interior charger, metal-stamped covers, the motor shaft, which can be of different technologies that fit at CIE, and plastic connectors. In other words, the content based on aluminium parts is even larger in an electric powertrain, and we can also opt for certain additional content for the plastics division. In the gearbox, which in many cases is a simple reducer, we once again have opportunities in aluminium housings and in different machine parts. Now let's look at the area of batteries, where, although CIE doesn't focus on producing the cells or the electronics, there are high added value parts, mainly metal stamping and tube forming, both in the casings and in the cooling system, connectors and crash protection elements. So we have considerably higher business potential in metal stamping and aluminium, and some opportunities in plastics. In these divisions, we're already securing orders for this type of components both with traditional customers and with new players from electrification. Also, we mustn't forget the considerable challenges represented by products which still do not have a clear substitute in zero-emissions vehicles. And so we're focusing on forged products, some machine products, and iron cast housings. So, we've defined a strategy with the following basic pillars. Increasing our presence in forged chassis and suspension parts, in ferrous alloys or in aluminium oils, searching for a greater contribution to lightweighting. Increasing our presence in shaft and gear machining for gearboxes for BEVs. Leveraging our history of consolidating suppliers, which positions us in an unbeatable position to bring together the manufacturing capacity remaining in this area, which will no doubt be abandoned by those who today are lacking a sound financial position and advanced manufacturing standards. Being active in outsourcing traditional technologies that our customers will outsource in order to focus on the new challenges of connectivity, artificial intelligence, autonomous driving, and major systems for electric vehicles. Also, ambitious sales targets have been set in electric car-related areas which exceed the penetration ratios for electric vehicles. Finally, we're focusing on finalizing the innovation plan to increase competitiveness in forging. As I said at the beginning, the decarbonization of society is both a need and an unstoppable trend. At CIE Automotive, we can say with pride that we're already working on this, so that the result means growth in the propulsion area, maximizing all the opportunities mentioned, and executing the strategic plan that we're rolling out in each division and geographical area. As you all know, CIE's core business is manufacturing, and its DNA includes innovation and incorporating new technologies. That's why at CIE, our plants and processes are already integrating Industry 4.0, which is a set of different technologies which have simultaneously achieved a sufficient degree of technological maturity. And we're going to show many of these through a real example at CIE, an aluminium casting and machining line. So let's start with additive manufacturing. We aren't yet using this tool to produce high-volume components directly. We're using it for concept prototypes and significantly in our molds and tools, where not only do we include our own technology with different patents, but we also optimize them through additive manufacturing inserts. For example, we can achieve much faster heat extraction speeds than traditional methods, which is a key advantage. The next tool we're going to look at is the digital twin. Based on advanced simulations, it allows us to predict the real behavior of the cell without having to interfere with it. This tool is fed by sensors and data collectors for each key parameter of the line. We'll see that data is a common denominator in many of these technologies. Now let's talk about advanced robotics, where robots are working collaboratively among themselves and also even working on some of our lines hand in hand with people, the so-called cobots. Now, as for so-called big data, these are technologies that allow us to gather huge amounts of information from all possible sources at the plant. Sensors, machines, robots, quality controls, PLCs, and so on. And this allows information to be processed in real time. We've already mentioned how important data is. Also, through the so-called Internet of Things, we connect the physical world with the cyber or virtual world. So we need to identify every product we produce. And to this end, both the tool that handles the parts and the parts themselves are marked individually so that we can associate all the data with each entity we work with, whether this be a machine, a tool, or a component. As a complement to these tools, we have what's called advanced process control, which centers on developing the modeling of our manufacturing cells and facilities. Through predictive algorithms known as deep learning, we can anticipate the behavior of the processes to control them and of the machines for optimum maintenance. And to this, we can add that our plants use new interfaces, which enable everything to be available at a single glance with zero paper, which allows us to train, educate, and communicate with the team and deploy alerts and maintenance activities. Finally, at CIE Automotive, we're using the cloud. This allows us to access all the data we've mentioned and process the data together, sharing experiences of different lines, regions, technologies, and lessons learned. At CIE Automotive, we're implementing all of these technologies at our plants, always looking for measurable improvements which have an impact on our bottom line. Thanks to digitalization, we're getting our customers to see that our production can rely on robust, flexible, and constantly improving processes. Also, internally, it means another step towards improving profitability, while always looking for our return at each facility, in line with the investment discipline which characterizes us. Thank you very much.
Nowadays, it is unavoidable to talk about comfort as one of the key decision-making factors for vehicle buyers. Comfort, widely understood, includes different elements such as the vehicle interior size, the acoustic comfort, the perfect climatization, additional light, communication architecture, or the more visual instrument panel. But comfort can never mean excessive isolation, as it would imply that the driver would not be able to perceive different situations on the road and was missing important information for safe driving. So, the OEMs have to focus on increase the level of comfort and improving the user experience at the same time that safety is a must for them. This is the framework in which our SEA Roof Systems division works. SEA Roof Systems was created in 2019 as the integration of SEA SES and SEA Gode, former roof system business unit of Intiva Products, and its product portfolio are the kind of option elements offered to the purchaser. In fact, the features of our roof systems have currently very well accepted and have even better growth prospects. Roof system market has been growing significantly over the last decade and has a bright future ahead. In 2021, approximately 84 million vehicles are expected to be produced worldwide, and 21 million out of those will include a roof system, which means around 25% penetration rate. In premium cars, current penetration rate is about 60%, and it is less than 20% in lower segments. In 5 more years, 97 million vehicles are expected to be produced worldwide, and 25.5 million of which will be installed a roof system. That means a penetration rate of 26.5% with higher acceptance. In premium cars, where it is almost a must with more than 65% and more than 20% penetration rate in lower segments with plenty of room ahead. This means that the roof system market is growing, and it is growing faster than general automotive market, with tailwinds both from increase of global production volumes and from the additional penetration rates in the different car segments. Let's briefly analyze the different specific trends in the roof system market and SEA's strategy to answer them. First, the highest demand and growth is expected in the bottom road to panel roofs and in the fixed glass roofs with a roller blind, where SEA has a full range of products. Second, the electric vehicle architecture needs roofs with a reduced headroom package due to battery location at the bottom of the car, which SEA products support with the technology of flat roller blind. Third, one of the newest trends implies sky glass roof. That is where SEA can offer the integration of lighting on both fixed glass roof and opening roofs, covering all ranges. Fourth, ambient comfort is now a key feature for car purchasers, and SEA has started to work on different solutions to answer that new demand with advanced development activity. A. Integrating light in fabric illuminated headliner, roller blind. B. Integrating spotlight to the roller blind. C. Integrating entertainment system in the side sunshade or store in the roof sunshade. But at the same time, more light and more ambient comfort implies more glass, which could cause temperature increase inside the car. This is something that needs to be balanced in the future. So, All in all, SEA roof systems is in a growing market, supported by development of electric and autonomous driving. In this market, our innovation and technical capabilities are highly recognized as one of the worldwide top 3 suppliers. The roof systems make SEA a winning key player. And last but not least, I'd like to take this chance to wish all the best and fortune to all of our stakeholders in Chinese. 祝大家财运亨通，万事如意。Thank you.
Undoubtedly, one of CIE Automotive's greatest strategic successes has been its geographic positioning. From the beginning of the project, geographic diversification was one of the most sought-after angles. For one thing, the internationalization and multi-localization of our production plants has been a differential feature for a Tier 2 supplier like us, favoring the constant increase of our market share and allowing us access to our OEM customers' large global platform projects. Furthermore, our presence in different locations is a very important element of risk mitigation against the cyclical nature of a sector such as the automotive industry, in which different regions go through their own economic cycles. The CIE project was conceived in the Basque Country 25 years ago and expanded rapidly. In the early 2000s, we made the leap to the rest of Europe and Brazil, and then came Mexico. In all these locations, we were able to position ourselves in a solid, intelligent way, in many instances through local alliances at the beginning. And we always felt that we arrived right on time before the explosion of the local automotive market, allowing us to make our investments profitable. And so, we continued to develop the European and American markets for years, until 2013, when we made a very important new qualitative and quantitative leap, landing in India. The creation of the MCIE project and our entry into the promising Indian market marked the beginning of our Asian adventure, a market that nearly 10 years later we know well and where we work with all kinds of customers in different industry segments. So we have decided to continue to bet on Asia. In 2019, we added China to our global presence through the integration of CIE Gold's roof system plants. As the world's leading automotive market, with a third of the world's vehicle production and a significant growth expected in the coming years, we are confident that our latest geographic commitment will undoubtedly prove to be a new success. A geographical positioning developed intensively during the last 2 decades that makes us a renowned supplier in each and every one of the main automotive markets. A geographical positioning that is becoming increasingly more balanced between different regions, in which the markets with the greatest future projection, such as China, India, Mexico, and Brazil, play an important role. A geographical positioning that today is a guarantee of success and that we will continue to bolster day by day.